So, anyways, this little thing, oh, made me feel so good. And I just saw wonderful, wonderful things as my mind explored. Um, I was exploring different things. And, the spirits just came to me and they were telling me, of course, through, um, I would say almost parables, or they sit there and said if you put black ants with red ants in a jar, they don't, they wouldn't attack each other unless you shook the jar. And then they would start attacking each other. And, instead of, thinking about what is provoking them, the shaking of the jar, they don't see their enemy, they just see each other as enemy. And what our society is being done now is the jars are starting to be shook all over the lands, and resources are, they're being, we have plenty of resources if we quit being, gluttonous and greedy and, share with one another and, stop pursuing what we're not supposed to be pursuing in this world. There's plenty. However, they're shaking the jars because they're looking for the true hearts of Christ, the minds of Christ, the bodies of Christ, the spirits of Christ, and the souls of Christ. And it might seem terrible, but it's all a test and trial and tribulation. And I might not understand the process, but I'm not going to be, I'm not going to give in to what others are around me. I'm not going to follow and go riot or go be in wars or, I'm not going to be the wrath upon the land. I'm not, because wrath is is starting upon the land. Aries, God of war, let himself be known. And lots of people are going to perish. And there's nothing I can do about it. I don't like war. I don't like violence. I don't like fighting. I don't like anger. Every day I work, and self-discipline does not be so angry. There's a point, you can get your point across and, be upset, but you don't have to let it go to that anger. You don't have to turn into the Hulk and go, Grah! And it's all about how you handle yourself. Like today, my mom, she we went to the park, and of course she wanted to go over to a friend's house, and she left me there, and she took off with the water that was in that I had put in the truck to drink. So I was thirsty and I couldn't get a hold of her, and so I had to go without water for probably 30 minutes. But still, when you're thirsty and you've been walking, 30 minutes is a long time without water. And I called her 3 times, and I left a text message, and I was like, it was rude to, just run off. I told her, I was like, don't do that again. However, I didn't lose my temper. I didn't go into a rage. I didn't make an ass of myself. I just expressed myself as one should. You can be loving and kind and still get upset with people. It's just how you deal with that and not let anger boil over. So, as right now, this world is being shook like this, all over, and it's anger is coming in ways that is unfathomable, and I know it. I see it coming. I see I see so much hitting, like I was being shown Japan and New York and like China, and just because things are about to hit those areas, with disease and uh, storms and things like that. It's going to have a lot of rearranging. And when resources get tight, people get angry, so it's all about, the tests and the trials and the tribulation. Buddha is now a dragon. And dragons, when they wake up, they want what is theirs and they get rid of what isn't. So that's like there's only going to be so many left of each tribe of people. Because the world is, the resources are, it's just there's too much, there's too much gluttony and greed, and there's just too much being taken from the world, so they have to shake it up and find out who's theirs. There are gods, they're not my gods, but they are the gods of others, so they're testing their people, their tribes. And if you call yourself, a Christian or a Buddhist or, whatever you are, you're going to be tried. And if you don't pass that test, then you're not going to survive. You're not going to survive it. Don't proclaim something. Don't proclaim a God's name if you're not living up to that code. Don't be blasphemous. And blasphemy is when you call yourself a Christian or a Buddhist, but you're not living by the law. And you can't pick and choose out of that book. I know that the times now that people, humans have, really pushed the boundaries on what the law told them, and like, no, we're gonna be, they're gonna be outside the box when it comes to, the law and what they said. But you can't do that, because if you blaspheme, then you get struck down. And I tell people, I was like, the time of mercy and grace is over. I don't put a God above me. I'm love. I walk in love. So, I don't put none above me. I don't call a Lord or, God or what. I just walk in love. And, I walk in peace and kindness and harmony. And I work every day for that. And I say I'm not perfect. I'm not blasphemous. I say I walk in love, so therefore I turn away from lust, and I don't pursue what is lust. I avert my eyes. So I do my best to stay disciplined in mind, body, heart, and spirit, and in soul to grow. But if you're not disciplined and you call somebody a Lord or God or King or whatever of your life, and you're not living that, then you're going to be struck down. And I see much. I see a beautiful future coming, but I see much that's going to happen before all that comes into play. And what I got to say is that once, flowers can bloom after the most horrendous wars take place. The landscape can become beautiful after blood has been spilled everywhere, because it's fertilizer. So, it is what it is. I see beauty, but I see death. And, what I see is I can't save any. I just kind of, make a journal of it and try to, you know, um, just try to comfort myself. And if it helps anybody else, it helps other people, and helps them understand what's going on. It's a purge, um, tribulation, the apocalypse. It's good to walk alone. Just because you walk alone doesn't mean you're lonely. I'm not lonely. I'm not lonely. You know, I've always been, until I got to this point, I've always been lonely. And I've always sought others to try to stop feeling so alone. But now I don't feel lonely because I have love. And I just want to help others and show love and give wisdom and to tell them to stop praising and worshiping names, to put that old way aside, because if you don't and you don't live up to what is written, it's like you're striking yourself. Like you put a God above you, but you strike yourself down because you don't live up to those standards. Just walk in love.